I'm gonna make it. I will survive. Keep on surviving.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Domestic Violence Forum. We are survivors. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda with you all really quickly so you will know what we are going through today. And I'm going to do a quick roll call for everyone on the agenda to make sure we are all on one accord. Dr. Ampa, please unmute and let me know if you're here. Dr. Ampa?
Yes, I'm here.
Miss Joey?
I'm here.
Miss LC? Princess?
I'm here.
Chantel Peacock, she's here. Melba Rose? Nicole Jackson?
I'm here.
Regina Osborne?
Here.
Miss Guylene Presendieu and Shatavia Joseph?
Here. Here.
Brittany Frizelle?
Frizelle, but I'm here.
Frizelle, Shanda Roberts, sorry. Mr. Marvin Weeks, is Shanda Roberts here? All right, what about Commander Mitchell? Detective Ervens Ford Jr.?
Here.
Thank you. I think that is it. Okay, thank you all. So now I'm going to quickly share with you the agenda for today. We had the Survivor theme song, then the welcome by Dr. Ampa. Miss Joey Batista will do the prayer. Then you will learn what is the community collaboration exchange. Ms. LC with the norms, the occasion princess. We'll have 3 survivors. We'll have a poem. We'll have Plant Love with Marvin Weeks. We'll have Brittany. And then we'll look at some of the resources to help you combat domestic violence. We'll have a closing prayer with Mrs. Jackson. We'll tell you all about our upcoming events. Thank you all for being here. And I'm going to rest my voice and turn it over to Dr. Shanika Ampa. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shanika Ampa, and I want to tell you all, thank you all for joining. Thank you for taking the time out to join such an amazing forum. The Community Collaboration Exchange presents to you, I Am a Survivor, Domestic Violence Forum. Tonight, I invite you all to be engaged, to take notes, and to feel free to stand up, speak out. You can feel free to chat, get the information that you need and that you can share. Ask questions and leave us comments. Tell us how we're doing. Part of my welcome speech was to tell you a little bit about the community exchange, what we are about. And so I'm gonna leave that for someone else, but be a part, be involved. We're just here collectively doing our works. So tonight, as we focus on domestic violence, as we focus and talk about this topic and this issue that affects our community and has affected so many people, some people here on this line, I want everyone to feel that, one, that this is a safe space. I can guarantee you by the people that I work with in this area, in this arena, and the people that's here, that this is a safe space. This is a space that you're not alone, and you don't have to leave here feeling alone. And for the people that do this work, we always learn from each other. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's jump in and let's have this conversation and learn from each other.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ampa, for that warm welcome. We will have an opening prayer by Miss Joey Batista.
Okay, so you can petition, you can bow your head, keep your eyes open or closed, and I'm just going to petition God, and you can replace whoever you want to believe in. So I'm not trying to infringe upon you. So Heavenly Father, we come before you asking for forgiveness of our sins and shortcomings. We want to thank you for having this opportunity that we can meet and engage on behalf of your children. all of your adult children, all of your young kids and babies, God. We know that there is a movement going on and that human race needs help right now. With all the things that's going on in the world, God, we ask that your angels come and surround us and guide us to help us help ourselves to do better by you and the community and the earth that is taking so much care of us all this long time, God. I ask that tonight that you let someone hear this, that they may benefit from it, God, that they may get takeaways that can inspire them to do better for themselves and take their power back, God. We cancel out every negative assignment that may be in the hearts and minds of anybody trouble them, God, and let this be a safe haven for them and a relationship builder that we may have trust and restore in you again, God, hoping to you. So we're asking you to bless the presenters and let them, and we want to commend them from stepping forward, and we want to bless their families and that you open the doors of opportunity from this day forth on behalf of the Community Collaborative Exchange. We ask you all these things and more. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Miss Joey, for that warm prayer. The Community Collaboration Exchange. You may ask, what is the Community Collaboration Exchange? We are a group of organizations that meet the last Saturday each month to focus on the community needs. We pose a question on Facebook and ask, what did the community want to see? So they mention topics like mental health, assistance, coping skills, domestic violence, where can I run to? And we're doing human trafficking next month. We also have grant writing workshops to help people write grants who have nonprofits. We collaborate, we clean up neighborhoods. We cleaned up Florida City, portions of Florida City maybe 2 months ago. And I think it's next week, we'll be visiting Opelika with the Vice Mayor, Veronica Williams. So we're getting around and we're involving others and we're trying to collaborate and bring the South from Florida City all the way to Miami Gardens, east to west. We're trying to bring everyone together for change. We all know that we are in a pivotal point in our lives that we need change. And if we don't change, we are going to continuously lose a whole generation of people. We have just completed a gun violence forum via Zoom. All of our platforms have been Zoom now, but we are only going in the neighborhoods to clean up, but we will be in the neighborhoods soon doing larger events, larger scaled events, and we're going to need your help. Right now, I have on the Community Collaboration Exchange t-shirts, and our 10 organizations are on the back. It's 10 of us, and they will introduce themselves later. But it's 10 of us working together, but we can have 100 people on the back of our shirt. So if you want to be a part of Community Collaboration Exchange, even if you don't have an organization, because a lot of people on here, they're a part and they don't have an organization and they still come and assist because we're all working together for common goals. I placed a Google form in the chat. Fill out that form. Just come on our meetings sometimes. You don't have to participate in everything that we do, but some things may interest you. So please fill out that form that I placed in the chat. And I'm going to stop right there because I can talk on and on and on. Is Mrs. Alcee here yet? So I'm going to move on with our norms. I do need, because we are recording this, I want all of you to know that you're being recorded. So if you don't want to be recorded, you can cut your camera off, but this will be recorded and turned into an actual YouTube video for viewing later on. So these are the norms. If you don't want to be recorded, cut your camera off. It's perfectly fine. Please stay on mute. If you have a pressing question, place it in the chat, or at least wait for the speaker to finish speaking. Please don't interrupt the speakers. That's all we ask. Stay on mute. We don't want to hear the babies crying in the background and stuff like that because it's being recorded. Thank you all so much. Are there any questions before we move forward? Okay, The Occasion by Miss Princess Wright. Thank you. Can't hear it, Princess. Share your audio.
You have reason and rarity. There is value in each and every one of us, including you. That is precious even on the days you might not feel it. You never depreciate in value. Those words are there to remind you. So to all those watching who feel like that or have ever felt like that, focus on what I'm about to say and repeat after me. I'm worth it.
I'm worth it.
Okay? Maybe that felt great, or perhaps that felt weird. Let's go again. First, take a deep breath and let it out. Forget the naysayers and silence the critics, even if the harshest words are the ones you say to yourself. Do not doubt yourself, and this time speak it louder, really loud. I'm worth it. And the next time you hesitate before going after something, the next time you blush and brush off a compliment, the next time you doubt your place in the world, in the workplace, in your home, or in your own skin, say these words to yourself: I'm worth it. And I know you will always say it like you mean it. I'm worth it. Because you are, and always will be. Got that?
Amen. We are worth it. We are worth it. We are worth it. I'm going to bring on survivor number 1, Mrs. Nicole Jackson, who happens to be a very special friend of mine. Mrs. Nicole Jackson, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good
And
evening.
as you may know or may not know, I am a teacher for Dade County Public Schools. I currently, right now, am teaching at Horace Mann Middle, 6th grade social studies. And throughout the regular year, I'm at Holmes Elementary teaching 5th grade math. So my story starts with my first marriage. I am currently now on my second marriage, which is wonderful. But with the first one, I experienced not necessarily black eyes and broken bones and falling down stairs and that sort of thing, but it was more of mental and physical abuse, which is real. One incident I was sharing with someone the other day, we got into some type of argument or disagreement or whatever it was. And before I knew it, I was being pinned down on the sofa, being choked. So the ruckus was so loud to where it took at least 2 people to get them off of me. And that was a real turning point for me, because as they say, it does escalate. It starts off small. It may be words. It may be a shove, a push, get in your face, but it does escalate. And at that point, I knew I had to do something, because spiritually, I knew God didn't believe in divorce. So I tried to make it work, tried to make excuses, tried to convince myself, what is it I'm doing? Why am I pissing this person off to where they want to cause harm to me? But in actuality, it's not the person, but somehow we get barred down in our minds that it is us creating the monster when it's not. But that's what they want us to believe. But I said that to say this. I did need an answer, and I needed one really quickly. I had 3 kids. They were young, 1, 3, and 5. And I didn't think I could make it on my own. So as I listened to the song Ms. Akins was playing, I am a survivor. And it's only when you come out of it, you realize you are much stronger than you were before.
Yes.
And you're the one going to excel once you're out of that cycle. That person will be the same, believe it or not. They're still going to have the same habits, But you as a person, once you decide in your mind, it has to be something you decide. And I wrote down a scripture which I found, and it's God that gave it to me. So I'm going to give it. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm going to give it to you. It's 1 Corinthians 7:15. And I sum it up as this, and you can look it up and you can read it for yourselves. If your spouse departs, may your heart be at peace, because God wants us to live in peace.
Yes.
He doesn't want us to live in turmoil. And that's the one thing we have to understand. No matter how much you may love that person, no matter how much you may like that person, it's never okay for them to ever put their hands on you or for you to put your hands on someone else. It is never okay. It is never okay to verbally call them nasty names, curse at them, put them down. Because even now, if you have triggers, and that's something that God has to deliver you from. So if you touch me in a certain way, you're going to trigger something on me. Or if you pat me a certain way, you may trigger something on me. And I got to a point where in that second marriage, I had to say, hey, look, this is not the first one. So domestic abuse and violence does stay with you. And it's something that God has to slowly deliver you from. Some people he may deliver right away. And some people it takes time. But for me, I thank God he gave me that, because I just knew. I said, well, okay, you don't believe in divorce. But when he showed me that, that was the door opening. And once he said, okay, you got to leave, I made up in my mind that I had to leave. Because like I said, it just gets worse. It doesn't get any better, to where things are being thrown at you. And when you look at a person and you could just see the demon on them, it's scary, because that's what's driving them at the time. And that part of that cycle is they're remorseful because they don't know at the time. It's a driving force behind what they're doing. And they don't realize just how much they're hurting you. So I'm here to say I have survived it. I've raised my son to where I always tell him, I don't care how mad you get, you hit a wall first. Hurt yourself first. Walk away. And even now, when I see it in the school system, I don't let my boys hit girls. I just disagree with that. I don't let the girls hit the boys either. And then the other day I saw some, they said, oh, we just playing. I said, no, we both said it at the same time. That's not a way to play. It's not okay. And so many of our young people are seeing this violence on a daily basis from either spouses, not their spouses, but their parents, or boyfriend and girlfriend. And that's the norm for them. They think it's okay. And we have to let our young people know it's not okay. It's never okay. It's not a good way to play. It's not a good way to even think to play. Because like I said, it absorbs you mentally and physically. Even if they're just verbally abusing you, putting you down, you nothing, you no good, because that's the way to keep you in the relationship, because they don't want you to go anywhere. Yes, they may love you, but at the same time, they don't realize the hurt they're causing. And why? Because they have their own issues, but you're no one's punching bag. So I said all that to say this. I thank you for listening to me, and I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. But if you ever find yourself in a situation where you want to get out, just know you can.
Yes.
Just know you can survive it. Just know it's going to be scary. It is scary trying to get out and go and raise kids on your own. And I've been a single parent with 3 kids before I got married the second time. But just know it is possible and it can be done. And you are worth it. You're so worth it.
Yes.
You have to start believing that you're beautiful. You have to start telling, even if you stick sticky notes on the mirror. And that's what I had to do. You are beautiful. And even now, Miss Akins will tell you, I like to run under a rock. When people give me compliments, I like try to run under a rock because I don't know how to take it. I don't see what they see. But at the same time, I know I'm worth it.
Yes.
I know I'm beautiful. And I know that God has something better for whoever's going through domestic violence. It's never a good place. So I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Jackson. Are there any questions for Mrs. Jackson, or leave her a comment in the chat? You can unmute, ask her any questions that you may have.
And I'm more than happy to give my number. I'll put my number in the chat. And if anybody needs to talk, I will more than happy talk.
Awesome, Ms. Jackson. All right. No questions for Ms. Jackson?
I
I
do have
kind of did have one. I have one quick one. I noticed when she was talking about the school system, was it always this way where boys were beating up girls and girls were beating up boys? Or is this something new?
Well, when we were in school, it was, you played like that, but it wasn't to this extent. It wasn't like what you really normally see where they're really physically punching each other. When we grew up, it was totally different. Either you liked him or he liked you, and you didn't know how to show each other. It's on a totally another level now. It's an actual domestic where they're actually on each other and physically punching each other.
That is not good. I mean, in
or
one place
grabbing each other, and you can see the face and the intenseness in their faces, like, I'm gonna really hurt you.
Yes.
So it's not like when we grew up, nothing at all.
Wow. Because I remember I lived in a place in St. Pete 2 years ago. When we moved in, we had to sign a waiver stating there would be no domestic violence at all, and if we had saw any, we had to report it.
Wow.
Which was good.
I like that. Yes, I never heard of it. So
Well,
thank you
HUD
for
ran the
sharing
building,
that,
that's
Fred.
why. HUD ran the building, that's why.
Thank you all so much. So thank you, Mrs. Jackson, once again. I'm going to move to the PowerPoint that was created by Ms. Chantel. She's a student at Barry University and an intern at Collective Sisterhood with Ms. Joey. Ms. Joey, you got the sound queued up?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
My name is Chantel, and I am a Barry University Master Social Work student and also an intern with Miss Joy with Collective Sisterhood Incorporated. Today, I'm going to give a very brief overview about domestic violence and to bring some awareness to this problem that exists within our society. Did you know 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence? So this is something that is not bound by gender identity. It affects all. 18 to 24 is the age that women are most commonly abused by an intimate partner. 30 to 60% of perpetrators also abuse children in the household. And 24 people per minute are victims of domestic violence. So these statistics are chilling, but they certainly are reflective of what is going on in today's society. As it relates to domestic violence, I know firsthand what that is like. When I was 16 years old, I was involved in a very unhealthy relationship. I was emotionally abused by my boyfriend, and then it escalated to physical. I do remember a situation where one day he decided to restrain me, slap my face, and drag me on the floor throughout his house. So from that experience, that definitely changed me. I had the courage to leave. I had the courage to say that this is not acceptable as far as how I wanted to be treated. And at that time, being a teenager, going through the motions of a new relationship, I didn't have the knowledge or the education to understand that this was not right until it escalated to being something physical. So there are 3 different types of abuse that I'm going to talk about as related to domestic violence. You have physical abuse, emotional and verbal abuse, and sexual abuse. So before I get to that point, I wanted to mention that when it comes to any acts of violence, there's a cycle of abuse, and there's 4 stages that are here. You have tensions that build, they increase, there's a breakdown of communication, victim becomes fearful and feels the need to placate the abuser. Then you have the actual incident, whether it's verbal, emotional, and physical. There can be threats, intimidation, anger. And then it escalates to reconciliation, where the abuser apologizes. They make excuses. They can even blame the victim or even deny that anything even happened. And then you end with calm, the incident is forgotten. It's almost as if the abuse has not taken place, and it's similar to almost like a honeymoon phase all over again. Examples of physical abuse. This can include pulling hair, choking, kicking, biting, smothering, preventing you from eating or sleeping, using weapons against you. This can include guns, mace, knives, or bats, harm children or pets, preventing you from taking necessary medication, throwing objects at you, forcing you to use drugs or alcohol. So this is a list that does not truly encompass all areas of physical abuse, but these are some of the main things that you will see that are associated with physical abuse. When it comes to emotional abuse, this can include insults, name-calling, criticism, jealousy, possessiveness, isolation from family members and friends, controlling what you wear, your makeup, your hairstyle, gaslighting you. So in other words, making you feel like you're the problem and that there's not really a problem. Blaming you, cheating, accusations, always thinking that even when you're checking your phone, you must be talking to somebody. And saying comments such as, "You're lucky to be with me, you're not going to find someone better." Examples of sexual abuse: forcing you to dress in a sexual way that you're not comfortable with, insulting you in sexual ways, forcing you or manipulating you into having sex, and hurting you with weapons. This is just an illustration, once again, of emotional abuse, because out of the 3 different types of abuse that I discussed, sometimes emotional abuse is not really discussed or really understood. So I just wanted to put this here as an extra visual for that. So once again, this can include constant criticism, accusations and blame, playing mind games, just being completely suspicious and skeptical just about everything, isolating someone socially, which is a big part of the abuse, because if you're able to isolate the individual from family members or friends, then you decrease the level of influence that those individuals have on them. And verbal abuse, yelling out bad names, using derogatory language to speak to them, any of those things that would make them feel bad about themselves and really affect the self-esteem. This is also another illustration of how to deal with emotional abuse. So sometimes when individuals are working with people who are going through this, and I don't like to use the word victims, I like to use the word survivors from a trauma-informed perspective. It is not as if they just get up and say, "I'm ready to stop what's happening to me." It's stages, it's a progression of what they go through. So in the meantime, while they're going through this journey of healing and trying to get to a place of safety, there are some things that you can do to help them. And this can also include those with physical and sexual abuse as well. Make your mental and physical health a priority, helping them to understand that they are important and that what is happening to them is not okay. Establish boundaries with the abuser, realizing you can't fix an abusive person. And a lot of times there's some self-blame when it comes to that. Well, maybe if I made the dinner a certain way and they would like it, they wouldn't have hit me. Maybe if I would have been home on time, they wouldn't have said this to me. But just coming to the realization that they certainly cannot fix the person. And stop blaming yourself. Build a support network. That's very, very important as they're going through this journey, and work on an exit plan, of course. So when things get really out of control, just having a plan of how to get out of it. I wanted to leave you with a few resources in case you know someone who may be in need of them, and also so that you have awareness of this. There's a National Domestic Violence Hotline. There's a website called thehotline.org. What I do like about this website is that there is a safety feature on it. So if someone is looking up information and the person who is hurting them happens to walk by or look over their shoulder to see what they're doing, they can quickly exit out of it by pressing an X button, and it will revert them back to a completely different screen. So that person will not know what they were looking at. There's also a shelter, the domestic violence shelter in Miami-Dade County. There's a contact information there and a website. And there's also resources in Broward County as well through Women in Distress of Broward County, and the contact information is there. Thank you all for listening to my presentation.
Wow, that was wonderful, informative. Ms. Joy, can you tell us a little bit about Chantel before we move on to Shatavia and Ms. P?
Sure. So Chantel is a remote intern that's not in the state of Florida. And she is a teacher or a counselor by day. And she is pursuing her master's at Barry University, along with some other peers of hers that's online. And she is like a breath of fresh air when it comes to, you know, doing what's right and, you know, taking the torch and leading the masses and being accountable and, you know, caring for the people, you know, all people. And she's a gifted young lady that, you know, is passionate about saving lives and inspiring youth to finish school. She mentors some of the youth in Miami-Dade County. And even though she's not here physically, it's just like she never missed a beat. And she volunteered and stepped up to the plate. And she said, I would love to do that. And so just like her, all the others are like-minded, and I'm, you know, extremely humble and grateful to have her and pass her on this journey of, you know, in this walk, you know. So I want to thank her. And, you know, she had another meeting, but she still was accountable and took the initiative to present.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joey. And as you stated, and I'm sorry, I felt her presence, even though she wasn't here. Her voice, the passion in her voice and everything. So thank you, Ms. Joey. That was a great catch, and to God be the glory. Thank you so much. So we're gonna do the 10 facts. Are you all ready? Ms. Guylene Presendieu and Ms. Shatavia Joseph, they are social workers, mental health counselors, coordinators at Miami-Dade County Public School. So
yes, good evening, everyone. Like Ms. Aiken says, my name is Guylene Presendieu, and I am a mental health coordinator for Miami-Dade County Public School. And I am here with my sister, my best friend, Shatavia Joseph. We are the co-founders of Leap with Love, which is Ladies Empowering All People with Love. And we also we are a member of Community Collaboration Exchange. And today we're gonna do things a little bit different. First of all, we know the topic is domestic violence. So before we talk, like I'm a type of person that I like to research. You know, when somebody tell me something, I like to research. I like to find out, okay, what is the definition of it? So now we're gonna go to the next slide, and I am going to define domestic violence. So what is domestic violence? Domestic violence, according to the United States Department of Justice Office on Violence Against Women, the definition of domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, whether it's a relationship among friends, whether it's a relationship among a mother and a daughter, or father and a son or a daughter. It's referring to all types of relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another intimate partner. Domestic violence is also considered as intimate partner violence, and also Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October. However, we know October we celebrate cancer, so oftentimes domestic violence is not as highlighted as much when it comes to bringing awareness. So I'm just happy that we are doing this forum, that we are discussing domestic violence in July. And then, you know, hopefully come October, we'll be able to go into communities or different shelters and discuss more, what is it, domestic violence, and how to seek help. And, you know, us as clinicians, we work with different individuals who experience domestic violence. And one of the things that you all may not know, as a clinician, whenever someone comes into our office, whenever someone comes to meet us, one of the things that we do not encourage the individual to leave. You know, oftentimes I know that's hard. I can imagine Ms. Akins, you know, you were based on your personality and my personality. I'd be like, okay, you know what, you need to leave. However, you know, according to the code of ethics, we just have to encourage the person. We provide them with a safety plan, and we provide them with resources they need. When that individual, when they're ready to leave, they'll have everything in place so that they can have a smooth transition. And now I'm gonna pass the baton to Shatavia.
Good evening, everyone. That was amazing. All the contributors and presenters. And thank you for Ms. Jackson and Ms. Chantel for just sharing their experience with us. That shows bravery and courage. So thank you. Just to kind of piggyback off what Chantel said and what Ms. P just mentioned, let's talk a little bit about statistics. So I found some interesting facts about domestic violence, and Guylene mentioned intimate partner violence. So some of these statistics are going to be relevant in that realm. So the first statistics that we have, it says about 1 in 3, which is about 30% of women globally, have experienced some form of physical or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. So Guylene did mention that sometimes it may be a partner, sometimes it just may be someone that they're close in proximity to, some other form of relationship that they have outside of dating. The next statistic says that globally, now this is worldwide, guys, almost 1/3, about 27% of women, this was very startling to me. Now it says, starting at the age of 15, between 15 and 49 years, who have been in a relationship report that they have been subjected to some form of physical and sexual violence by their intimate partner. Again, aging range from 15 to 49. Ms. Jackson mentioned that hey, she sees it at Horace Mann. So it's starting at middle school that we're having and seeing this type of relationships that are occurring. So it's always important for us as adults that if we see this activity going on, have a conversation with young people. Let them know what a healthy relationship looks like. They're looking at us as adults, they mimic our behavior, they're exposed to different things. We don't know, you know, at home. And sometimes that carry on into, you know, other realms and other places that they visit. The next fact that I have here, I'm sorry. It says 26% of women and 15% of men have experienced intimate partner violence for the first time before the age of 18. So I wanted to highlight this because you talk about domestic violence, we talk about intimate partner violence. We kind of always think of the women who are being victimized, but men, young men are victims as well. So it's just important for us to make sure that we are aware of that boys, young men, adults, they are victimized as well. So that number is 26% of women and 15% of men, again, who have some form of experience when it comes to intimate partner violence. And this is before the age of 18, y'all. So we're not even talking about past the age of 18 into adulthood. The next one says, during fiscal year 2019-20, Florida's Certified Domestic Violence Center provided 721 nights of emergency shelter to 13,250 survivors of domestic violence and their children. So again, kids are being exposed to some of these, you know, horrific behaviors. So it's important for us to realize that. And then this fact is really good because it kind of gives us an idea of what Florida is facing. And again, this is what's reported, you know, where this is not taken into other people, other family members who are taking in survivors and their families as well. So according to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, an estimated 51.3% of Black adult female homicides are related to intimate partner violence, over 50%, y'all, of Black adult female homicides, that means deaths, are related to intimate partner violence. Chantel did mention this as well. On an average, nearly 24 people per minute are victims of physical violence by an intimate partner in the US alone. So this is not even counting global or worldwide. And that means during 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million of women and men that are going to experience or have experienced domestic violence. So I leave with you all a quote, and it says, domestic violence speaks many languages, has many colors, and lives in many different communities. So that means grandmothers, grandfathers have experienced it, mothers, young mothers, single mothers, young men, our children, they're experiencing domestic violence. So let's make sure we have a conversation with our young people and just bring more awareness.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Presendieu and Ms. Shatavia. Thank you all so much for those interesting facts. Like somebody put in the chat that they are alarming. Those facts are alarming. And the ages were even alarming. It started at 15 on one of the statistics. So I'm glad some of the young people are on tonight. So you will know that it's not okay for someone to abuse you. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it's not okay. It's not good to be around people like that. And always have that exit plan. So we have a TikTok, Miss Princess. We have a TikTok, a short TikTok. I'm not with the young folks. I don't know, but Princess be knowing this stuff. And followed by that, Miss Brittany.
This is for you. The one so blinded by love that you feel losing your life, it can't happen to you. This is for you. The one that lost sight of the great woman you are just to remain true to a man or a woman that only hurts you. That's not love. This is for you. Eventually a push turns into a smack turns into a punch turns into him holding a gun. Boom, you're done. This is for you. To the kids that no longer have their mother because she was so hung up on a lover that would beat her down to the point she can't breathe till she smothers. This is for you. The woman that can't see her way out, searching for a way to get out. How about this? My cousin lost her life. That would be enough reason to route. This is for you. I got a question for you. Do you love a man more than you love you? Honestly, this is for you. I don't care how many times they say they're going to change. It all remains the same. If that was the case, my cousin wouldn't have R.I.P. next to her name. This is for you.
Thank you, Miss Princess. That was powerful. Thank you so much. So that's what you call a TikTok video. Okay, I got you. Thank you, Miss Princess. So we will have Miss Brittany. Are you ready? I'm not going to try to say your last name again. You can introduce yourself because I keep messing it up.
It's okay. As long as you don't say Frizzle, because that's not it. Okay. But yes, family, I am Brittany Frizelle. I'm currently a reproductive justice organizer at Power Youth Center for Social Change and also a poet. So I'll be doing a poem today for my book, Sometimes I Cry. And this one is called Thanks for Attending My TED Talk. And I wrote it kind of after recognizing, it was the first time I really realized that I had been in an abusive relationship. I think something from the youth perspective, because the relationship that I was in, I was actually 13. So it's like your mom is telling you like, don't date, don't date, don't date. So you can't go home and be like, oh, mommy, he hit me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's that kind of dynamic. And even then I put in the chat when Fred was talking about like, is it like love taps or is it like real hitting? You know, it's like, it was real punching, real dragging, real like choking, real anger, you know. And we're thinking as a 13-year-old, I was thinking like, oh no, he really likes me. Like this shows that he cares. Like this shows that I shouldn't be doing those things. And it's just like, so yeah, I wrote this poem after coming to the realization that like, I was kind of talking to myself in this poem and just coming to the realization that like, you've been through some things, girl. So here we are. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. I said that is straight up and you didn't hear me. I played the quiet game while filling my eyes with pain, and you didn't hear me. I flipped myself upside down visibly, and you didn't hear me. I disappeared physically, absent literally, and you did not hear me. You put it in front of me, and I yelled, "This is me!" And you didn't hear me. And they say, face it, tell the world, tell a friend, but in the end, you're all alone. And it's up to you to make the decision to win or to lose, to fight or to give in. Yes, it's been tough. Yes, it's been hard. Yes, you don't feel like you have enough, but you have you. You are the reason you've made it this far. You are the reason you're still here, and it's up to you to fight. It's up to you to win. It's up to you to decide that you will survive another day. You will make a way out of no way because you are a Black human. And it was originally woman, but I recognize now that, I left my brothers out and it's real and it's super real. So I want to change that to human. And thank you guys for allowing me this space today.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful because it happens every day. You didn't hear me. You're trying to speak, but it seems like no one hears you. So thank you. You are deep, Brittany. I just love every time you share one of your poems. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we will have Dr. Ampa. Are you ready? And then Mr. Marvin Weeks, followed by City of Miami Police Department.
Good evening, everyone. So, many people don't see me as a domestic violence survivor. They usually know me as the human trafficking survivor. But I want to speak about how the two run so parallel and why they run so parallel. After getting out of human trafficking and after being beat by a pimp and having this mindset of no self-esteem, I still was looking for love, and I continued thinking that I was out of this lifestyle. But every relationship after that ended in domestic violence, and I fought my way out. And in a return, if you look at the police reports, we only gonna fight one time, and I'll move on. But in that one time, the roles kind of switched. I kind of became the abuser, not the sense of I attacked first. I just felt that I had to defend myself better. And so I would be the one, if you flinched at me in my protective mode, if I don't want to be hit anymore, I was going to hurt someone. And so when I think about the domestic violence, people always say, why didn't you get out? Why you just don't leave? Why? Just why this person stayed, or why? Because most people who are in this mindset, and it is a mindset, it's a mindset of not thinking you are enough, not valuing who you are, and not understanding who you are. And so you get from one relationship, and yes, you might get into another domestic violence relationship, not understanding that taking some responsibility that you haven't found your value or worth. And so if I had nothing else to say to anyone else or to anyone on this line, I want us to understand that the person who's in it need us the most to help build them up. Because I have, even myself, I have so many friends, beautiful, working, and that was going to be my question to you, Ms. Jackson, because I think there's a perception of this only happened to a certain class of women, but there's working women showing up every day, beaten and abused to work.
Yes.
And so it's not because you aren't a successful woman, you just on the inside haven't gotten that very piece of the puzzle that says you are loved and how to love yourself. And so why do you stay after the punch? Because they make up so fast. They apologize so fast. And you don't want to be alone. And so that was my issue. After one relationship, I couldn't be alone. I hadn't learned how to love myself enough to be alone. And so I would go into the next relationship, and then the next relationship, and the next abuser, and the next abuser, until I had to figure out, I want to stay by myself for a little while with the kids, because I couldn't take this anymore. I just want, I want, I want us as a community, to understand that we are here to help people heal once we're healed. And it takes time to heal. Many people who go through this type of thing, they have so much trauma. They have the trauma already there. And so they're just living out, looking for love in all the wrong places, and don't understand that love really shouldn't hurt. Love really shouldn't
Yes.
hit back. Love
Yes.
really shouldn't, love really shouldn't give you result in a black eye, a busted lip, a busted emotional perspective of yourself, and a busted mental perspective of yourself. And you can't continue to cover it up and make excuses for it. And
Yes.
make excuses for it, because it will end to death. It will end in death. Death, and when I say death, I don't necessarily mean you're gonna die, like physically. But if you're emotionally dead or spiritually dead, then you're dead.
Yes.
So you're dead on the inside, and we're just constantly trying to live in life and being dead. And so sometimes we don't realize, especially for moms, we don't realize how it impacts our children. Um, but I do want to say, if you have children in the home and you have a domestic violence issue, there is help and get out, because DCF will come. DCF will come, because that is not a safe environment for your children. Um, I just wanted to share that piece. I wanted to share that piece to show people that we have the compassion and we have the resources, and sometimes we just need a listening ear. And I'm thankful for Ms. Jackson for sharing and saying that she would take a call someone and talk it out and understand what a real safety plan looks like, and what people need to have in an exit plan, what they need to have to be able to decide that they're gonna leave. Many women run and they don't understand. If you run without your ID, if you run without your birth certificate, I think we haven't talked about the financial abuse that keeps you in abusive situations, because you don't understand how you're gonna make it. And
Yes.
there has been many situations where the financial abuse was the biggest piece of the abuse. Where are you going to go? To a shelter? Where are you going to go without me? Where are you going to go? And I speak to that because a lot of women on different economical statuses, they're afraid to be where they don't have anything. And so they stay. And so there's no amount of money, there's no amount of love that could equate to you being abused over and over again. And so I say that, and I thank you. I just want to share a little bit. Love yourself. We love
Yes.
you. We have these forums because we care. And I saw that someone was just on here for the information for someone that they love. And it hurts when you love someone and they continue to go back. But I
Yes.
can say, when you say, don't tell me about it no more until you leave. Don't call me no more until you leave. That's that makes them stay. And so we'll be here. We'll be here. We'll keep showing up until they leave alive. And that's all I want to say. Thank you for the opportunity.
That was powerful, Dr. Ampa. And as we toured the South through the North, we were speaking of those spiritual deaths. The people were just walking like dead. They didn't have the spirit to build up so they could know that it is something better on the other side. It is something right immediately around your direct surroundings that could make you have a better life, but you have to want it. So thank you for that, Dr. Ampa. Brittany, are you still here really quickly?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, go ahead really quickly.
Right. I was about to say, Ampa, I love you so much. But you brought up some feels, and I have another poem called Who Taught You How to Love that I wanted to do before. So this gives me the space. And it goes, who taught you to love? The lady on TV who was beaten on and cheated on? The parent who had to hold their wounds closed so they couldn't hold you close? or the parent who was so ashamed that they barely spoke your name, or the friend with more toys than presents, so they always bragged about their presents? Was it the sister with 6 dudes but no bills, so she opened up her legs and closed her heart to feels?
Wow.
Or the brother who hid his love to be accepted in a world where he has to hide himself and is still rejected? Who taught you to love? Why did you listen? Did it feel good to be pushed away? Did it feel good to cry yourself to sleep at night? You like covering up the pain and shame with the fake smiles and fake fame. You like feeling empty inside with so much stuff in your space you can't even sit inside. Or is it the loneliness taking over your insides while you let just anybody inside? Or maybe the joy of never having to really love, because honestly, you don't know real love. Who taught you to love, really? Or did you just overlook all that and still learn to love yourself?
Wow. Brittany, you like on a whole nother like level, like Dr. Maya Angelou say, here you go, Brittany. Man, you better run with this.
Thank you.
Yes. So we appreciate you.
I was an emotional child. We went through some things, okay? We went through some things, but I like to take it and put it out in this way so that we can all move and grow through it, right?
You're so special, Brittany. Thank you. I know we all special, but you special. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. I love y'all. And I do have to hop off for another meeting. So
I
bye, my
know.
loves.
Bye.
Sending you guys all the love.
Bye, doctor. All right. Plant love. Mr. Marvin Weeks, are you here? Mr. Marvin Weeks? Plant love.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, that was a great poem, and I'm glad I followed that poem. You know what I see here, and I'm listening to these women. I'm even going to change my process that I was really going to speak about. But what I see here is, and it was alarming to hear the statistics that 51% of Black women, in some way, are experiencing domestic violence in some way. And I was glad to hear Chantel's statistics on and definition of what domestic violence is. And it extends beyond just between a relationship, but in many other ways. But I want to address the 3 patterns that I see. A sizable amount of women, in particular Black women, being abused. Love, I mean, the central things I see here was women being abused, a high percentage, love, and learned patterns. Those are the things I see that we are discussing here. Yes. And I think those are the issues that this whole psychosis, I call it, centers around. And, but there's a central point that everybody's seeking love. So love is the central point of all the issues of that everybody's reaching for.
Yes.
So what is this great manifestation? And I think this is the mindset that we are all seeking to love or be loved. And it centers around everything that we do. And I think that the whole idea that's affecting our communities is love. And I think that family is that microcosm that spills out into the broader community in our neighborhood. So the importance of creating this idea of planting love is very important. I don't think it's a defeat for us. I think it is an advancement. A lot of people think love is a weakness, but I think it can be something, and 3 words I was defining love was devotion, inspired, and enarmored. So love is something that can enarmor us, and it should be something that defeats us. I want to share something right here, and it's going to sound crazy. Y'all excuse me 1 minute. I'm a man, so this is something I always observe. And listening to the women here, you know, and y'all be patient with me on this because it's going to, when I think about a young woman who has menstruation at a young age of women, but I've always observed this all my life. What happens to the young man while the young woman is having her monthly? What's going through his head? What is being taught him from our churches, our fraternities, our Masonic institutions? What are we teaching our men? Where is the middle passage? In Africa, for example, there's always a middle passage for people to go to. Young women go through something, young men go through something.
Yes.
But in this society, what do our churches tell the young men when the women go in to have administration? What do we tell them? What do they do? When a young man is going with a woman, what do he do while that woman is not active during that period? That question is something we have not experienced to talk about. And that's the issue where we lose our young men. Because what are we telling our young men in order to continue the love and to keep this manifestation of love going within our community? And a lot of issues, it falls back on the fact that there's no middle passage with young men. That's a period that they should be preparing themselves and putting themselves together, but in our society, we don't do anything. So I think this whole issue of us really talking about love, planning love, trying to discuss and try to find out how and what these issues are very important, because there's a lot of things that we have not done with our young men in order to deal with that middle passage, that continuation, because there shouldn't be these kind of major issues going on from the, like, as I say, the smaller level up to the broader level.
Yes.
And kind of really reduce that fraction to its lowest common denominator. I hope I'm not going too far out on the ledge. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I'm basically saying that there's a time that we have to really reach back and deal with the most simple treasure we have, and that is love. And we have to try to develop it. And like I said, it can have positive implications. You know, devotions is something that can inspire us. It's something that can armor us. So where we may think it's a weakness, we have to change that mindset and manifest some sense of power out of this.
Yes.
Because if enough of us can use this as an inanimate entity, we can begin to see some traction within our community. We can begin to really define why is it that so many women and others are suffering from this entity and not really being a beneficiary, by seeking this, it becomes a negative. And so I think we have to redefine this, redefine it in our community, and planning love, continued for us to try to, as a group, to begin, and begins with ourselves.
Yes.
Because the first step of love is self-love. And we can begin even from this group to begin to love ourselves, love each other, and show more inspiring ways, and it begins to grow. Because it really starts with ourselves. We can't really love someone else or be in a relationship till we understand and define self-love. And I think that's a deficiency in our community. From the family to groups of each other and to the broader community. We have a lack of love and self-love within our communities. And we have to begin to harness a different direction. So not to go on and bore you all with this, but I think that it's very important that we begin. And I've talked about this in so many ways, but I'm in my next sections, I'm going to really bring the tools to you all that's going to begin to show how we can begin in small ways to promote this. And I think in a year's time, we can see some results and some budding or something different in a different direction.
Amen. Amen.
And last words, I hope I'm not trying to give a simplistic way to this whole thing about domestic violence, but it really centered around our need to have self-love. And if we could begin that, I think that we could be beneficial to many of our issues, whether it's domestic violence, gun violence, economics, or what have you. And I'll leave it there. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Marvin, I know we have new people on. They don't know what you're trying to do across all the neighborhoods. Can you give them a brief synopsis of what you're doing with the Plant Love?
Okay, basically what we're trying to do is that I'm producing some posters, And if y'all can just hold it, let me grab something, right? Let me reach and grab something. 1 minute, right here.
While he's getting that, I hope Miss Princess is ready. Then the city of
I'm here.
Miami.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Is that visible? And
Oh,
I'm
yes.
here in my studio, and that's a screen that I've put together. And so I'm going to be printing posters up that we can distribute out and put where we put them in our neighborhoods, jobs, where we can put them on our cars, whatever. T-shirts can be made from that, and a whole array of things. So I just wanted to try to show you that because I know I'm always talking about it. But it's a process that I'm doing. I'm here in my studio now. So it's like the whole idea is to produce these posters that we can put within our neighborhoods. We can plant them at our businesses where we can, and we can all make this campaign and spread this whole idea about plant love. It's an armament. It's not something that we got to look at as weakness. And I think if we can develop that, we can begin to have something we can manifest. The most simplest thing that we can do that doesn't require money. We don't have the people to call us poor or this or that. We can begin to love. That's a powerful entity. And whether you believe it spiritually or whatever, it has been a manifestation that has long existed on this planet. So I think there's something that we really can we really can do. That's a dual that we can do. And we can be empowered, you know. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you, Mr. Marvin Weeks. And that's all your artwork behind you, right? That's all your artwork?
Yeah. This is my studio. I'll take a pan around so you can see. I'm inside the studio. There's something wrong with right. You see?
Wow.
Right.
Very nice. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Marvin. You have a question in the chat, Mr. Marvin. It says, I have a question. Where does that inspiration start at to inspire them about love?
Well, I think it begins first with ourselves. We have to, that's the first principle is self-love. And I think that's important that we spread to our children, in our communities, in our families, because this is a real alarming statistic to me to see this many women, in particular Black women, and I know this is something around all races and all people, but as you know, the most of all diseases and all issues really affect the African American community of people of color,
yes.
a larger number.
Yes.
And it's imperative, you know, when I see, and I've learned something, listen to the women here today, and see the issues that really is important. We wonder, and we can understand why that things economically within our communities and other things are abyss, because this prime, it's prime that we love each other, and we teach this to our children. And as the young lady was saying earlier, that you know, when there's issues going on among us, whether there's two guys or two.
Uh-oh, I think he's frozen. Okay. All right, so I live in California, would love to have a poster. Okay, you're back? Okay, you went in and out, okay.
We can begin.
You're going in and out, Mr. Marvin.
No, I'm just saying that it's something that we can start on.
Mr. Marvin, your internet is shaky right now.
Can you hear me now? Better?
It's better.
Now?
That's better.
Am I? Okay.
Your bandwidth is low. So we're gonna have to move on. If you come back up later, I'll go back to you. And someone in California who's on the line wants to have a poster and a t-shirt. I'll get back with you with that. If you filled out the Google form, I can connect with you. Regina, respect, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. High regard, high opinion, admiration, approval, appreciation, all reverence, honor, praise of yourself. Amen. Also, the next problem will be getting them to open up to you to express the issues they're dealing with. It's going to take a trusted individual. Like you will see, like I don't know about you all, but I've been a teacher for 18 years, and you can see some kids that don't even open up to their parents, but they know that you care, they will open up to you. And that's how you can help them get on the right track. That's how you could plant the love that Marvin is talking about in them, because sometimes they will not get it from home. They will not, but it's up to us, and it takes grassroots organizations like the ones we are a part of, and we could start back planting that love that is so desperately needed in our society. So thank you. I'm going to move on because I have a TikTok video, then the City of Miami Police Department. They've been waiting patiently, and we thank you all, Commander Mitchell and Detective Ervens Ford Jr. As soon as we hear this TikTok video. Are you ready, Princess?
Emergency, which service do you require? Fire, police, or ambulance? Are you in danger? Can you make a sound? If you can't speak, dial 55. I understand. I'm putting you through to the police now.
Through to the police. We're trying to trace your location so we can send help straight away. We hear you. You are not alone.
Oh, hi. How you doing? What was that?
Thank you, Miss Princess. Can you explain what went on in that video? Because it was kind of low. I know it said dial 55 or something like that.
Because she's a silent speaker and she does not speak up for herself because she is a victim of domestic violence. She was trying to actually make a phone call while her abuser was in the shower. So because she didn't want the abuser to hear her speaking to the emergency person on the other line, which was 911, they have a specific dial 55.
Okay.
If it's a DV.
Is that nationwide? Like, is worldwide 55? Is the code?
Well, we have,
or you don't know?
Well, I'm not really sure, but we have Detective Ford up here that will be able to tell you that.
Oh, that's leading us right into, that's segueing us into our next part. Thank you so much. And I see Regina is back, and then we have Shanda Roberts. We have a praise dance going over resources. Then I'll tell you about the upcoming events, closing remarks, closing prayer. We still have great timing because we said from 6 to 8. So thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for being engaged. Thank you all for writing in the chat. Thank you, Princess, for all your TikTok videos. Thank you for all the participants. We appreciate all of you. And thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for everybody who put together on this presentation to make it come together. Thank you all. Just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. So Detective Ford and Commander Mitchell, you're up.
Good evening. How's it going?
Great.
Well, I'll start introducing myself. I'm Detective Ford with the City of Miami, the Police Department. I've been a detective for 2 years now, and I've been with the Domestic Violence Unit for approximately about 6 months. Pretty much listening to everybody's stories, amazing stories, and I'm happy that everybody's able to actually open up and not be ashamed of your stories, because your stories do inspire other people to actually open up and speak about what's going on in their lives, and actually being able to open up and state something's going on. Being a victim to domestic violence, a lot of people actually do feel stuck, and I would love people to know that there are resources out there. We have like victim advocates that they talk to. I know reference our victims. Once a report is actually generated, a victim advocate actually reaches out to each and every one of our victims, try and get them shelter, try to help them out to leave whatever area they're in, if they're in any danger, to just try to get them out of where they're at. Our victims also get pamphlets to explain what domestic violence is, for more resources, more shelters to help them out. They a lot of victims, they feel as if it's the offender's going to change, that they're not going to be hit again, not be a victim anymore. And they also feel isolated, like they have no one else to turn to. But again, I assure you that we do have different resources and different things to help out our victims. It's kind of really all I really have. If anybody has any questions or anything.
Okay. Any questions, you all? Unmute, ask your questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the 5-5 actual national signal?
That's well, for us, the signal 5-5 is actually a code for a domestic violence call. That in reference to with the pressing 5-5 on the phone, I haven't heard of that, but that would be a question for a dispatcher. But if you give me a little bit, I'll actually find that out for you.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. As a police officer or detective, what would you say to a person that actually had the courage to call 911 in that moment? Because it takes courage. It takes courage, right? And so at that moment, watching police officers, and I believe that's because all officers aren't trained the same. And so my question wouldn't be to just the victims, but what would you say to a fellow police officer if you had the opportunity that would change his perspective of how he handled a DV call?
I mean, a lot of times we do get to see body worn camera in reference to how they do make contact with our victims. A lot of times we will call them and let them know, hey, listen, you have to change how you're talking to certain people, or hey, you have to do a certain thing a different way. But we do every now and then we watch the body camera footage and see how they treat our victims. Also, Internal Affairs also reviews body cameras to make sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. If officers actually need to be retrained, they are retrained with a training unit or spoken to by their sergeant or Internal Affairs as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
What happens? The police are dispatched to a house in which there's obvious domestic violence going on. So then what happens next?
As far as when if a offender isn't arrested, or when an offender is arrested? Or
just asking what happens, only because a friend had shared in the state of Delaware that she was treated as if she was the perpetrator as well in terms of the whole system. So, years ago, they kind of took the guy out of the home, he couldn't return. So I'm just curious, what happens now when the police are dispatched and it's clear there is domestic violence?
Well, as of right now, in the state of Florida, if there is a crime that occurs with domestic violence, a report has to be generated, and there also has to be an arrest. So once the person is arrested, there is a temporary injunction that is in place in reference to them not being able to make contact with the victim, not able to come back to the home. So, and also that I've seen on different cases where our victims would request for the offender to be on an ankle monitor. So if they do come around the house or anything, they're alerted. The victims are actually alerted now, stating, hey, listen, he's around your home. Also, police are alerted as well to respond to that area to make sure that that male is not violating his restraining order. Also, we as a detective, we do deal with violation of restraining orders, and we do make arrests on those as well. if an arrest is not made, those cases get assigned to detectives, and we investigate the case, and we actually have different officers to go and locate the offenders. So nothing can happen to them again. If victims fear that there's a man, like the offender is going to come around their home, we have a way that we can let officers know to pass by that area to make sure that the victim is safe, is okay, that they can make contact with the victim, just to ensure that the offender is not around the area, also trying to locate the offender.
Oh, wow, wow. And you said there's a monitoring device. How much distance, excuse my questions, how much distance is that monitoring device?
That monitoring device there, I actually was able to make contact with one of the probation officers that showed me how accurate the device is. It can also show if like how fast the person is moving, if they're in a vehicle, if they're walking, which way they turned, if they do a spin. It's very accurate, and it's a great tool, and that's pretty much it.
I want to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I notice you keep saying he or him, so obviously there's a great amount of these abusers are men. Am I correct? Percentage-wise.
Yes. Like we said before, that females at the moment, it's one out of 3 females deal with domestic violence, and men it's 1 out of 4. So it's a little bit more of females being the victims.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Are there any what happens to the abuser? I mean, is there? I mean, I know your department have, for example, if someone's on drugs or something, there's some kind of referral service you take them to. What happens to the abuser? Is there any kind of intervention or referral that happens for the men? That's suggested. I mean, I know it's not a part. Is there something that
I do know that when they are arrested, we can check mark and highlight that we believe that there was drugs in play, or there's alcohol in play, that they're possibly abusing any of those, or if they're mental at all. Then when they do get to the jail, they have different programs to try and help them out, or try to see if there's any abuse of alcohol or drugs or anything like that.
Okay. But no direct program that actually identify. I'm just trying to see what are the needs that might need to be looked at, because are there any intervention from men's groups or churches?
I know they used to send them to anger management. They used to send them to anger management. I don't know if that's still in play. Is that still in play, Detective?
Yeah, that they actually have to take courses, like that could be recommended by the judge for them to take different courses to stay out of or serving more time in jail.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm actually getting a question in the text message, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it for the person. Are there any instances when I know you mentioned that the ankle monitor can be placed on the abuser per the victim's request? Is that something new? Can it be done in any domestic violence case?
I see that when they do go to the bond hearing, a lot of the times they request it. I've seen it be done within the past 2 years. So I guess it is fairly new. Then you had a second part of your question?
Is that something that they have to, can it be within any domestic violence case, and is it new?
If I'm not mistaken, I honestly don't know how they classify it with the ankle monitor, but every time my victims ask for the ankle monitor be placed on the offender, it's usually done.
And how
Okay,
long
thank
that
you.
been in existence?
Well, as far as I've seen, the past 2 years.
Okay, I never heard of that one.
It's really new because a lot of, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes we have resources, and if we only have the resources and the people who need to understand that resource don't have it, because most of the women don't know that that could be something.
Yes.
Right. And so if I don't know to ask for it, then I'm just living in fear. And if I'm the one who has to go to the shelter, and then it's just me suffering through the process. And so where do, I'm going to say this because I work closely with CVAC, and not even in any of their trainings, they have said this in the last 2 years. And so if it's the information to know, but to the people who need to know it is more critical. Not, you understand? That's just how I feel about the information. I've seen women living in fear because he's gonna come. He knows how to get in my apartment. He's gonna come. It's, he's gonna find me. He's gonna be at my job. And so I think that's the information that needs to be spoken of to the people who's living in that fear.
Definitely with the
We got to
victims.
make sure that we have a clear understanding.
Yes.
How is it prioritized? How do I know which judge will honor my request? Do my case just get dropped and not follow through? It's all of those things that we've seen in a system that has its own gaps in services too.
Has failed us. Thank you. That was motivating my question in terms of it's tracked. Okay, well, what's the distance? I mean, we can track. I can click on my car now and it will engage or disengage, but is it a half a mile from where I am? So that's what was motivating my question, because this is clearly new for me as well. Thank you.
Yes. And is this countywide or just limited to the city of Miami? Since you
No, this is the county.
Okay.
And in reference to that question about pressing 5-5, I was advised that that's only done in the United Kingdom. It's not done here.
Okay.
And my name is Valerie. I have a question. Is there a budget for public service announcements that would be, because TikTok is great, but not a lot of people use TikTok. YouTube is great, but not a lot of people use YouTube. But are there public service announcement budgets that you guys use to put out information, like these ankle bracelets, like what you do in the circumstance of a domestic violence situation, things of that nature that would actually educate the survivors, the abuse survivors?
Wow, that's a great question.
Well, in reference to budgeting and things of that nature, I'm not sure. I know that we do have a social media unit that I know that they put out things all the time. I haven't seen anything with domestic violence, but that would be something that I can definitely bring up to contact them about, because I know they make a bunch of YouTube videos. Us in the office, when we make contact with our victims, we advise them of the ankle monitor.
Okay.
Detective, I got a question for you now.
Yes.
Hey, okay, last year we had a horrific pandemic. Are you seeing an uptick in domestic violence cases post-pandemic like we are with gun violence, or are you seeing a downturn? Was it worse last year in the pandemic or worse this year?
Honestly, it actually went up during the pandemic. I'm not sure if being in the house too long or what it is, but we did see a uptrend of domestic violence calls.
So in other words, it's safer now? Wow, that's surprising, because it seems like just everything's just exploding. I mean, I don't want to be negative, but it's just like everything bad started happening once this pandemic started to wind down. People went back to some really bad behaviors. I was just wondering if that was true in that case too or not. Thank you for that, though.
No problem.
Yeah, the Census for Victims Assistance, they spoke about like the increase, just like the increase in like a lot of our social issues, but the pandemic
Yes.
helped. One, because people lost their jobs, people had to figure out how to stay in. So we started having this conversation, and Shanda Roberts on the line, you don't have to stay in place with your abuser. We started seeing things like that along our social medias, because people felt because I was on shut-in, I had to be here. And so a lot of people had no way out. 2 people lost their jobs. Where I'm gonna go? And a lot of the shelters, they were packed. They had COVID. They had to figure out how to accommodate for the numbers that were in there. And then the housing, the homeless trust had another initiative for isolation. So some of the shelters were using a different protocol for that. And so people, I can tell you this from experience and working where I work, most people, when the courthouse closed, they didn't know that they could still get services. They didn't know that they could still call and go get a restraining order, because what we were hearing on the news, the mass media, is that everything is closed, that the
Yeah.
courthouse is closed. And so I spoke about to some of the people who have these larger organizations, are you sharing the information that these people could still go, and where can they go and get a restraining order without thinking that the courthouses were closed? Because by the show of hands, how many of us knew that the courthouses were closed? That's all we knew.
Yeah.
Everything was closed down. But so that led people to feel isolated in their situations.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Victoria in the chat, and I want to thank you, Detective Ford. Any more questions for Detective Ford? Commander Mitchell is not speaking, right? Is that correct?
No, good afternoon. How you doing, everyone? This is
Hello.
Commander Omar Mitchell. Yeah, I've been in law enforcement for over 20 years, and I kind of just want to let Detective Ervens do his thing and kind of develop, because I'm all about empowering our officers, because that allows them to grow and to be better personnel. And that's what's very important. But very quickly, I'd like to say that we're moving in the right direction. Just to listening to everyone's story, the information everyone is sharing, man, it's good to hear those things, because throughout my years, my career in law enforcement, we've had this transition of domestic violence where, when I first came on, we had pre-O.J. Simpson, where if it was a case of domestic violence, you just separate them, tell the guy, hey, go take a walk and come back later. And then later on, we progressed to, you know what? We need to make an arrest every time that we have evidence or signs of domestic violence. And then we incorporated dating violence. So we progressed throughout the years, and especially with what Detective Ford was saying, as far as with the monitoring of the offenders. Now, this is information that we share as far as our department. I cannot speak on everyone else's department, but with our department itself, we take domestic violence very serious. We audit our body-worn cameras, like the detective said, relating to the cases of domestic violence. We even do an audit of all domestic violence signals that were changed. So pretty much when an officer gets dispatched a domestic violence call, they have to thoroughly investigate the call. And past practice was, if the officer felt that it didn't meet the criteria, they would just raise a supervisor, either on the radio or on the phone, advise them on what they have, and they would say, look, sorry, she doesn't meet the criteria, and then also would check back into service. As far as what the accountability factor, we've come to a place where before an officer can do that, the supervisor must respond to the scene. The supervisor must speak to the victim, must make his own assessment before he changes that or allows that case of domestic violence to be changed or to be ignored. So we've made a lot of progress. We have a lot of accountability, and we take domestic violence very seriously. Quick recap, as far as our push, we really don't have a budget as per se when it comes to putting out announcements, because we have different platforms, whether social media or we have our own little city network, but we spend a lot of time pushing out the information through community events and community functions, just like this forum that Ms. Princess put together, and I thank you for that. And also for October, which is Domestic Violence Month, we have a big push where we engage the community We go to schools and we speak about things like that also. So again, what you guys have spoke about is very great. I love it. Just one thing I want to add is that we also have to be a good brother, a good sister,
Yes.
a good citizen to our fellow person. Because we know, and we've known people that are going through cases of domestic violence, and you may not be encouraged to say something because you may say, you know what, it's not our business, but it is our business. We're supposed to take care of each other.
Yes.
And we like to use the word abuse. Sometimes we think of abuse as physical. I like to say control, because all domestic violence situations have an aspect of control, whether it's financial, mental, or physical. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for what you've done. I thank Princess for inviting us to join. And I hope that we continue this movement and motion as far as addressing violence across the board, not just domestic violence, but gun violence and anything that affects our community, because we need to take our community back.
Amen. Amen.
And
Amen,
I would
Commander
like
Mitchell.
to add a little bit what Victoria stated in the chat. She's a detective with us as well in the city of Miami. With our department, we have a walk. In October, we involved our victims to come out and they share their stories. And we just have a walk. We promote it on our social media and just like to have everyone to come out.
Where's the walk normally at? Like which area?
Around our station in downtown.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And
what's the
thank you,
social media
Commander.
handle? Where
Say
can we
again?
find it? Where's your
We
what's your
have
social media handle?
I know we have two main ones. I know that we use Instagram and Twitter. They both are really good. Hold on, let me get the on Instagram, our account is MPD Police.
Okay, thank you.
And Twitter should be the same thing.
Oh yeah, I follow y'all on Twitter. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
No problem.
Are there any other questions? Great dialogue in the chat. I was wondering who Victoria was because I'm like, she knows a lot of stuff. So she's a detective. Okay, got it.
Yes.
I got it.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Yeah,
Victoria.
I'm Victoria. I'm just trying to see how whatever he can pick up or I can help as well. But yeah, we also want to know if there's anything the victims, because sometimes we sit down and talk to victims, but in many of our cases, usually when the unit arrived to the incident location, usually the offender is gone. They do what they do and they leave. So then we get these cases assigned to us a week later, or not necessarily that same night or that same day. And then we come and talk to our victims, and then by then they made it up, they're happy again, and they don't want to talk to us. So it's a few that do decide, hey, this is it, I'm getting out of this, I'm gonna do better and save myself. So it's only a few victims that we actually have the pleasure to sit down and talk to them and see what they went through, tell us before that how many more incidents, and I think I would like to know what is it that we can do to help, or what is it from a victim's perspective that by the time we call and try to help them that they no longer want the help. So what can we offer, or what can we tell them for them to want to break free and say, okay, well, if you guys offer me this type, like if the guy is telling them you're gonna go to a shelter or you're gonna be on the street, let us know that, so when we do come across a victim who no longer wants help, and we can be like, okay, is it because of this? Because we do have resources. We do have our department offers victims advocate that come out, help you, relocate you. They help you with money. If you don't have a job, they help you find something. They can pay up months, like I think it's 3 months, if I'm not mistaken, 3 months of rent until you can get back on your feet and help you get stable somewhere else. I've had victims where I've taken them myself to the Metro PCS store to get a new phone number where they can be reached. So we do, and we want to help. When we see a victim who really is afraid, who really wants to leave the abusive relationship, we will go beyond our duty to, on our time off, go out there, relocate them, help them move. I've been to victims' houses to pick up their personal belongings, whatever it is, like take the important things and move them somewhere else. So we do want to help. And if there's anything that you guys can tell us how to help you guys, what will help.
I like that. When send these recommendations to who? Once we meet, we could send them to you all.
Yeah, I can give you my email and you guys can email this and I will pass them out to our detectives and keep in contact with you guys. Whatever questions you have, if I don't have the answer right now, I can definitely get them back to you and give you the right information.
Okay, can you message me your
I'll put
email?
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you so much. And I'll send you an email with the follow-up. No, thank you so much. You could hear the compassion in your voice, in your voices. So thank you all so much. And we appreciate you. Now I'm gonna make the county jealous because it's all city of Miami.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. We have Miss Regina, are you here still? Because we have 15 minutes and I want to stay true. You all know how I am with time. I like to stay true to time. Miss Regina, are you here still?
I am. I am here.
You have the floor, lovely.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for adding me as part of this group. Let me tell you, I want to first apologize for going off to another appointment, but I had to hurry up and come back because this is a very important conversation to have. This video should be shared. I would recommend sharing this on your platforms because there are people that may be too embarrassed to speak of what they're going through, or they may not know that they're going through a form of domestic violence. And until they hear a platform like this, to be able to have this discussion and give them outways and leeways that they can speak to other people, then they will probably be informed. So thank you all again for this wonderful platform. As I was speaking to the ladies a couple of days ago on another topic, this one came up about this platform. And I did mention to them that I myself had went through a form of domestic violence in a prior marriage. But the form of domestic violence that I went through was not the physical form, it was the mental form. And a lot of people don't realize a mental form of abuse can be just as detrimental, if not worse, than the physical part. And I just wanted to share briefly what I was going through. I was in a relationship and the person started out to be very nice, very sweet. Everybody loved him. It seemed to be a big cover up. And in those times alone with him, in the car with him alone, in the house with him alone, these little things started happening. And it started out with the belittling part. And a lot of them, what they do is they start out by belittling the individual. And like someone in the conversation said earlier, it is a form of control because they, I believe, understand that you are a powerful person, you are a wonderful person, but their strength doesn't come from building you up. Their strength comes from tearing you down. And so what we have to understand is when some situations like that start happening to us, we have to teach people it's not a time for you to put your head down. It's a time for you to lift your head up and say, what is it that he's seeing in me that he has to attack me this way, make me feel less than? What is it that we have to do? What is it that it is? Most of the time, the women, in which I did myself, I looked at him and I said, I am less than, I need him. I need him. Well, I did that. And it wasn't until the physical part started after the mental part is when I said, it's time for me to go. And I just wanted to share the part of the mental part. The song that you played earlier today, I'm a Survivor, sometimes it's still hard for me to listen to that song. And even though I could dance and kiki with my girlfriends, But when you played it today, it really hit me in a total different way because the secrets that I hid from others are now coming out.
Wow.
And what I say that is because I'm always the strong person in business, in relationship businesses, and with family and friends. But when you have that significant other that you think is riding for you, but then come and tear you down when others are around, because you're so strong of a person, you are afraid to tell other people what you're going through in your secret moments. And we have to learn that even though we're very strong when we're out in public, when we get behind the closed doors, that strength should not leave us. And so I wanted to share with other people that when this happens, let someone know. There's got to be somebody in your circle that you can have a conversation with. Don't make the mistake that I did, as well as a lot of other strong people do. It's not always weak women that are abused. A lot of times it is the strongest women that get abused mentally, because the men know if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. But when you hit me mentally, sometimes I don't know how to strike back. And so we have to learn how to share this conversation with other women to know that there is another form of abuse, that mental abuse is very detrimental. Let them know. I didn't share it with anyone. I didn't share it with my dad. And here's another thing that we do. We cover the men that are not covering us. We cover the men that are just taking us to a point to try and bury us. And we have to stop covering them. We have to start letting them know. My father was 6 feet, 280 pounds, and he could have crushed him with one blow. I knew that, but I wanted to cover my abuser simply because I didn't want my father to take him out. We have to start letting people know, even if it's a casual conversation. I would tell young women this today. Let them know about the first time you have a conversation with him where you feel like you're less than. That's the most important conversation to have, because it'll stop probably those other conversations from coming. When the other conversations come, it's simply because we chose not to speak out, or we chose to allow the other conversations to come because we didn't do anything with the first conversation. So I would love to share with everybody, share this video. And like I believe Juana was saying earlier, it starts in the schools. This is not starting when these kids are 13 and 14 and 15 years old. These things are starting when they're in elementary school, because people are laughing and kikiing and say, oh, he only hit you because he liked you.
Yes.
He only hit you because he liked you. I went through that in elementary school. In the 6th grade, a young man was upset because I didn't like him back. I didn't think he was cute. I didn't want to date him. I'm in elementary. I'm trying to carry my books. I'm not trying to carry a man or a kid. But what he did, because I did not want to date him in 6th grade, he physically came and attacked me and hit me in the back of the head while I was on the bus, and tried to attack me more, but people grabbed him off of me. That's in the 6th grade. I didn't think it was a form of abuse until I got older and said, that young man, if he didn't get his life together, he's going to abuse somebody else. It starts in elementary, but we also have to let people know that mental abuse is real. I wrote down a few things. I put here, mental abuse is an unspoken form of domestic violence in so many ways. It is an unspoken form, and we need to speak to people about it. Some women may think, well, he's not going to hit me. He only just talks bad at me. That's only when he's drinking. That's only when he's around his friends. That's only when we're alone. And like someone else said in the chat, that's also the beginning of what's to come. It usually will be something that comes up later. Also, I put, it's not always just about the physical abuse, but the mental abuse. And one thing that I realized in my relationship, what happened with the individual with me was, his thing was he wanted to always keep me less than him. He always wanted to keep me under him. He always wanted to try and do whatever he could to keep me less than him, because he knew that if I rose above, like someone else said in the chat, When you come out of that situation, you come out bigger and better than you left them. And they usually will stay in that same position that you left them, because I think that's their punishment for what they did to you. But we have to be able to be strong enough to look up and no longer look down, look up and just go and get what is for you. I believe someone else was on the chat saying that they were married before and they had to leave their abuser and then they got remarried to someone else and things are better. This is what some of the abusers, especially the mental abusers, don't want you to do. They don't want you to know that you can do better. They want you to think that you're going to lose everything. They want to instill fear in you that you would never leave them, that you have to stay with them, almost as though they're one step below God and you better not pass that step. But if you can understand when the control is happening in your mind, it's time to go. And the last thing I'd like to say, because I know it's time to say, is what I wrote down. I wrote this: if your home cannot be your safe place, then it's time for you to find another place.
Woo!
Thank you all for listening.
Woo, woo, woo. Whoa. I'm speechless. I am speechless. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so deep. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. They were in the chat. They were giving you hearts. They were doing everything. Thank you. That was raw and that was real, uncut. Thank you so much for your truth. You just helped a lot of people tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh my God, my God. Okay, I'm moving on. I got 5 minutes. Miss Shanda Roberts, are you here, sweetheart? Shanda Roberts?
Good evening. Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the invite. I am Shanda Roberts, CEO and founder of Pain to Purpose. My organization assists victims and survivors of domestic violence. More importantly, we go around to schools, churches, wherever we can go to do workshops, talk about exit plan, red flags, how to get out, what to do, what do you need when you get out, who do you, how to get help. We also hold events throughout the community. We have a teen summit every year where we talk about suicide, depression, bullying, self-esteem. We also have a parent talk during that teen summit where we have a clinician talking to the parents about the breakout sessions that we're talking to the kids about so that they can come together and get help if they need help as a family. So it's not just an event for the teens, but it's for the parents as well. And once we open that jar, we have to have clinicians there to make sure that we have people there to help service our families. So that's what we do in October. And in September, we'll be having our second annual Survivors Ball, where we have survivors who have never shared their story or are new to sharing their story. At the ball, we honor we also have an advocate that we choose from the community who's doing the work. It's an emotional roller coaster, but it's not all sad. It's mostly to uplift those survivors, to get them to sharing their story so they can help bring others out. Because when I started sharing my story, I've been out of an abusive relationship for over 20 years, but I just started sharing my story maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't know that I wasn't healed until I started sharing my story. I thought I put it away, and since I didn't talk about it, that it was done and over with. But once I started sharing my story, that's when the healing process began. And that is why I wanted to do the Survivors Ball. And I called it I Am Victorious Survivors Ball, because we are victorious over things that we go through. And we cannot allow that to hold us down and to determine our future. So we take time with our survivors. We spend time with them. It's not just a ball, but we actually talk to them and spend time with them months before, weeks before, just getting them prepared and making sure they're strong enough, because we don't want anyone to go in and be hurt and set back because they're sharing their story. So it's a whole process to the event, but it's a beautiful event. I hope everyone could come. I put our email and our website in the chat. I also filled out the form. I'm trying to think of what else we do. But I also work for a shelter called Miami Bridge. It's a shelter that has homeless teenagers. And so I'm always serving people when I'm even when I'm not at work, even when I'm home. I'm also serving. So we deal with teens all day that, coming out of abusive homes and are human traffic victims. So my life's work is just to help. And so that's who we are. Oh, also, I'm sorry, one more thing. We have an initiative called Stuff a Purse, where we collect slightly new purses and we stuff them with hygiene products and take them to the shelters and to give it to the shelters inside the victim survivors inside the shelters.
Awesome. Thank you, Shanda Roberts, from Pain to Purpose. Amazing journey, and thank you for sharing your journey with us tonight. Thank you all so much. This was powerful. This was uplifting. This was amazing. This helped a lot of people, including myself tonight. So thank you all so much for attending I Am a Survivor Domestic Violence Workshop. We are healed, we are free, and we can be anything we want to be in life. And we know that it is a way out. It is a way out, and we must continue to believe there is a way out. It is now 8 o'clock, and I promise by 8 o'clock, we will be done. Any lasting closing remarks or comments before we close out in prayer? And we will stay on a little while. We won't just hang up, but I have to end this recorded Zoom, and I want to ask you all to please, if you didn't fill out the form and you want to be a part of Community Collaboration Exchange, remember, this is the shirt I have on. Our organizations are on the back, and we are seeking more organizations to just work together, because it's not all about one person. It's about all of us coming together, working from the south to the north. We've been doing amazing things from the south to the north, and it will only grow. We have a few upcoming events. Miss Joey, who is on here, she's a jack of all trades. She will be completing a grant writing workshop on July 20th at 6:00 p.m. We have our Opalaka cleanup on July 24th. We're going to meet at Jackson Soul Food Restaurant at 7:30 a.m. on July 24th. I will be emailing, if you filled out the form, I will be emailing all the dates to you all. We have a human trafficking form that will be facilitated by Dr. Ampa, and our next meeting is July 25th. On our monthly meetings, like when I started off this Zoom tonight, I told you all every last Sunday of the month, we meet and just discuss topics. We talk to the public. We visited all the communities from Florida City to Miami Gardens in one day. We got feedback from the community of what they wanted. So that's what we're trying to do. And as we're working in the communities, we're giving back, we're feeding in. Like we had the detectives on here tonight. Now that's a resource for those who are still in the healing processes. So thank you all so much. Did I miss anything? The shirts are at the, if you want a shirt, you know the Liberty Market has a standalone t-shirt shop by the Liberty Market door, right by the nail trap. I know it used to be nail trap. I don't know what it is now. And you could just ask for the Community Collaboration Exchange t-shirts. We will have on our t-shirts at the Opalaka Community Cleanup. I'm going to stop because, as you know, I talk a lot. I am a teacher. So thank you. And Community Collaboration Exchange, all the people on here, I'm Tawana Akins. I represent Better Me Incorporated under the Community Collaboration Exchange umbrella. And anybody else who's on here for Community Collaboration Exchange, please unmute really quickly and just state the name of your organization. Thank you.
I'm Nicole Jackson, teacher.
I'm Shanika Ampa, the founder of Guiding Light Outreach, Inc.
Fred Christian, founder Impact.
Shatavia Joseph and Guylene Presendieu, representing Ladies Empower All People with Love, Lead with Love.
Gina Wilson, representing the community.
Anyone else?
Princess Wright with McKinley Elise, representing Wash Your Mouth for Me.
Just for Me Summer Camp.
And Just for Me virtual summer camp for girls 5 to 12.
Yes, we have fun there. So you can't leave that out. All right, I think any other closing remarks? Anybody want to put a remark on here before I stop the recording of how did this help them or how do they feel, or what happened as a result of this I Am a Survivor Domestic Violence Awareness Workshop? Anyone with closing remarks?
I just want to say one thing quick, and that's our next conversation in the future. What happens to the men who abuse? Where do they go? Do they go to the next house and start the same thing over?
You're absolutely right about that. If they don't get help, or if they don't reform, they will do the same thing. I bet you the ones that aren't here who have those abusers and they still in contact with them, even though they have moved on, I bet you they're doing the same thing to other people unless they decided amongst themselves to change.
And I would say something after that. Don't think you're the woman to change him. I don't know if Shanda Roberts is still on, but when she tells her story, I remember her talking about saying like the woman that actually is with her ex-abuser actually called her to say, you empowered me because he abused me too. So don't think, oh, he abused you, but I'm better than you. No. You didn't change the person, and we can't change people. And so most times women think that we're gonna be the fix all, heal all to someone that needs to help themselves.
And also something else. If someone gets arrested for any type of battery, which is something that I really love with the county, if someone is arrested and convicted of a battery, if it does happen again, doesn't matter if it's a simple battery, they do get charged with a felony. It doesn't matter if they push them, tap them, after there's one conviction, it automatically turns into a felony.
Okay, thank you so much.
Miss Akins, I just want to comment. I will say this though, for those who are going through, don't sit and wait, just keep moving, because my ex had to come back and say, oh my God, did I do this to you? Because it was in turn, the abuse got turned on him, and the same things he did to me got done to him. So never think that they get by, because they don't. And another thing is, I never let my dad know, because I knew my daddy would hurt him.
Yes.
That's another thing. You don't let people know, because you know how your family is. You know that's their first reaction. They're going to want to fight, and it's going to escalate from there. So you try to avoid going to your family. But my ex-mother-in-law would say to me, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and when God gave me that word, everything set itself in motion. It set itself in motion, and he started opening doors that nobody could close, and he closed doors that were meant to stay closed.
Yes.
And I wasn't saved at the time. So you were talking to an unsaved person at the time going through all this. But I had sense enough to know that there was a God who could rescue me out of all of that turmoil.
Yes, Miss Jackson. Thank you so much.
It's real. It is so real. Thank you, Miss Regina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to hear from one young person under the age of 18 to close us out before we do the closing prayer with Mrs. Jackson. I need a young person under 18. Tell me something about this tonight. I see you all are still there. One person, just unmute and close us out, please. Don't be afraid. I'm gonna count to 5. If nobody does it, go ahead, Miss Jackson. Okay, thank you, Sharina. I love you.
I love you too. I just want to say that this was honestly an amazing Zoom. And though I've never experienced DV myself, I would say that I do know a friend of mine that has been through a lot, and right now she is in foster care because of her problems with domestic violence in her home. And I think this would have been great for her to join, but I can't get in contact with her right now. But I would definitely send her the link to this video because it was very helpful. And it touched my heart. So I just want to thank everyone who opened up about this and to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharina. That's one of our former top performing students at Horace Mann Middle. Tyler, you have the resources video ready so we could close out in prayer?
Yes.
Okay, this was deep. It's like, it was heavy, but you feel like a lift. You feel like a lift, like this was amazing. So thank all of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you. And you see what we can do by working together. It shows you what happens when we work together. We all have the same problems and we mad at some of the same things. But if we work them out together, that could be our coping skills that Ms. Presendieu told us about before. We need to develop our coping skills. And on that note, Ms. Princess, you have the video ready?
You have to put back on screen share.
Okay, we'll close out in prayer as soon as this video starts. I just made you, okay.
Gotcha.
These are the resources. That's our Facebook handle, Unity Exchange. It paused, Princess. Oh, she probably frozen again. So, Ms. Jackson, are you ready? Oh, it came back on. Ms. Jackson, go ahead and close us out in prayer.
Lord, we just thank you. We thank you for another day. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this healing, Lord, because this is healing for our souls, Lord. We thank you for allowing us to be together. We thank you for allowing us to have the courage to share our stories, Lord, because our stories, our testimonies will help someone along the way, Lord, because that's what you've called us to do. So we thank you and we love you. And we just ask that you just anoint us, continue to be with us, Lord, and help us to move forward and do your will. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much. Make sure you join us on Facebook at Unity, X-Change. If you have a Facebook account, that's where I post a lot of the information as well. And I hope that you filled out the Google form. And I really, truly appreciate you all for staying on 11 minutes over time. Thank you all. God bless you all. I'm going to stay on a little while longer if you want to talk, debrief, or need to connect to different resources. But God bless you all and good night.